If you're gonna open up a restaurant, someone is gonna come and check it every month to make sure that your washing machine is in order, that you're using the correct chemicals, that you're using the correct amount of chemicals, that bathrooms are getting cleaned on time, and all of those things. It happens in the West and it's taken very seriously. Those things do exist in Taiwan, but they're often just kind of like, they're chabudored away. Imagine this, you're in Taichung City riding on their brand spanking new baby colored MRT line that streaks its way through the heart of Taichung. You're minding your own business, enjoying the peaceful ride, when suddenly people start shouting and hollering to stop the train. You look out the front window and there's something on the tracks. So you start looking for an emergency stop button, something you can pull onto and the train will stop, but there isn't one. And that's when you notice the train staff person is rifling through her bag, trying to find the keys to unlock the door where the actual emergency stop button handle thing is hidden. Doesn't work, it's too late, the train hits this object, rips a hole through the side of the train, and you're left thinking, what the hell was that? What could have possibly crashed through the beautiful green tunnel that the MRT is traveling through? It ends up being a crane. Yep. Down in the streets below, a crane was working on something, fell over, landed on the MRT tracks, and you crashed into it. Sounds crazy, but that's exactly what happened a few weeks ago. So you might think, Taichung, falling cranes, not for me. So you go down to Kaohsiung, but the cranes down there don't fall. No, they do the opposite, they fly. Not making this up. Look at this. What is this? Like, how did you do that? Who dropped the ball here? How is that doing that? That's amazing. There's just a crane in Kaohsiung that got completely lifted off its wheels, completely lifted off of those like stabilizer things that pop out the side, and is now levitating over the streets of Kaohsiung. Nuts. So you might think, okay, Taichung, Kaohsiung, cranes, they either fall down or they fly up. Not for me. So you go north to Taipei, and you're walking around cautious of cranes, making sure one doesn't fall on you at any given second, while all of a sudden the floor tries to eat you up. That's right, a giant sinkhole opens up in Taipei, swallowing scooters and umbrellas and walls and all kinds of shit. It's absolute pandemonium and insanity. And the thing is, all of these stories are completely true. There are countless more just like it of infrastructure, construction sites, just things generally around you in Taiwan falling apart, causing a lot of damage and a lot of danger. A lot of these accidents can be chalked up to what I like to call, and what a lot of people call, chabuduo mentality. Chabuduo, what does that mean? Well, it's one of the phrases foreigners learn when they first arrive here in Taiwan. It's one of my personal favorite phrases. Now in English, we don't have a word or a phrase that directly translates chabuduo, but the closest way I could describe it to you is it's just kind of like, it means pretty much good enough, or not quite meeting the standard, but it'll do. It's a bit like when you're moving and you strap a massive thing like a mattress to the top of your car and your friend looks at you and goes, is that gonna hold? And you just kind of go, That right there, that is chabuduo mentality. Now, I am a fan of chabuduo mentality because it basically means that you can get things done a lot easier. With chabuduo mentality, you can do away with the checks and balances and safety procedures and contingency plans in favor of efficiency and convenience. So if you're gonna erect a crane for your construction site to do some work, you're not gonna go bother getting an inspector and making sure that everything is in its place. No, this is Taiwan. Ugh, safety instructions, ugh, get out of here. It's British food. Actually, even British food is chabuduo mentality. Potatoes, boil them. Meat, boil them. Tomatoes, boil them. Peas, mush them. Who cares? It's food. It works. I use this chabuduo mentality in my daily life all the time. Just look around my apartment. This is my computer, and you can see that it is not level. It is very slanted. It's not flush. That's because the shelf that it's sitting on is flimsy, and so I've just supported it with the stick on the bottom. Now, my very expensive computer might fall over and smash into a million pieces, but for now, chabuduo. A lot of people use this mentality as a way to live an easier life here, especially entrepreneurs. You hear a lot of people opening up businesses here and saying it's a lot easier than it is in the West. The West is an ultra sanitary, very safe, very kind of regimented place. If you're gonna open up a restaurant, someone is gonna come and check it every month to make sure that your washing machine is in order, that you're using the correct chemicals, that you're using the correct amount of chemicals, that bathrooms are getting cleaned on time, and all of those things. It happens in the West and it's taken very seriously. Those things do exist in Taiwan, but they're often just kind of like, they're chabadored away. For example, maybe you're a foreigner and you move to Taiwan and you open up an English school, a bushiban, and the health and safety inspector is coming to your school to make sure that everything is in order, and you're only supposed to have 2 toilets in your bathroom for various reasons, but you have 3. What do? Just put up some planks of wood and build a broom closet around the 3rd toilet so that when the safety inspector comes in, he checks off that he sees 2 toilets. You might, I don't know, throw him a home bow or something, and off he goes. Chabado, good enough. Who cares? Whatever. It's convenient. I don't want to have to do this. I just want to run my business. And this is where Chabado mentality can show its dark side. That story about the MRT crashing into the crane I told you earlier, true story. The tragic thing is that there were loads of people on a train that got injured and one person didn't make it. It's an absolute tragedy and it's a direct result of this Chabador mentality that I'm talking about. When you have Chabador mentality infiltrate things that are important like safety procedures, fire safety, all of these things, bad things happen. In fact, the 9/21 earthquake that hit Taiwan years ago was a direct result of that too. Loads of buildings that were not supposed to fall down in a massive earthquake fell down. Lots of people lost their lives. It's absolutely a tragedy. A couple of years ago, a construction company was doing work on top of a hill next to a railroad track. When one of the workers forgot to put the brakes on, left the vehicle, it rolled down the hill and crashed right into a train, killing loads of people. That is Chabador mentality. All the insane traffic accidents and things you see here on the roads, that's Chabador mentality. The buildings look like garbage. I made a whole video, 12 things I hate about Taiwan. Most of those things can be chalked up to Chabador mentality. I often complain about Taichung's boring nightlife, and that is chalked up to Chabador mentality too. Years ago, there was a very famous fire that happened in a bar that was chock full of Taiwanese people and foreigners partying, drinking, have a good time. Fire broke out really quick, spread really quickly, few people died, and the city took that opportunity to shut down nightlife pretty much overnight. So what Taichung is left with is not a whole lot of bars, and it's really, really difficult for people to get their liquor license to open a bar here. And so what you often see is that bars don't have their bar license, they'll have a tea shop license. It's not a bar license, but good enough. Chabador. It'll do. This way of doing things and thinking is often the answer to a lot of people's questions when they come to Taiwan and they see cranes crashing through MRT lines or floating in the air or the ground falling through or traffic or whatever those things I mentioned. They're kind of just like, how? How did that happen? Like, that is insane. It just wouldn't happen in my country. And that Chabador mentality is often the reason. Now, me as a foreigner, do I feel unsafe around that kind of thing? Sometimes, but not really. I too take part in the traffic here in Taiwan. I've lived here for a long time. I've tried to incorporate a lot of ways of Taiwanese living into my own life. And so, like I said, my apartment has a lot of Chabador mentality. I don't drive like the typical person in the West would. However, a lot of my friends have been affected by this. For example, there's a supermarket across the street from where I work that is currently undergoing construction. And so there's cranes all over the place, renovations, zhuangshou happening all over the place. And my coworkers won't go near that grocery store until the renovations are complete because they're scared of all the equipment. Construction sites here are full of things that aren't safe, no safety hats, alcohol, just general willy-nilliness around the construction site, and it just looks really unsafe. Because it is. Now I thought about the reason why I'm making this video. I didn't want to come off as like a white knight, as someone who's like, you know, I want Taiwan to be better. Except the more I looked into Chabador mentality, the more I realized that I'm guilty of it too. I too kind of pull from the treasures of that mentality. There are gray areas in the legal system and the way things that are done that make life really convenient that I also take part in. So I can't be like, you know, down on people for taking part in this sort of, I don't know, good enough mentality that ends up with loss of life or loss of tons of money or injury or whatever. For me, it's one of the biggest reasons why I love Taiwan. It's just kind of ridiculously easy to do certain things that are normally ridiculously annoying in the West with things like administration and red tape and bureaucracy. They kind of do away with that here. Where does this mentality come from? Where does the problem originate? Well, this is my own personal opinion and I may well be wrong, but I think in large part, the reason why this happens is low wages. You know, construction workers and other inspectors and people that are responsible for erecting massive buildings and are working with really dangerous materials aren't often paid particularly all that well here in Taiwan. The companies are paid very well, but the actual people working on the site aren't. And so if you were getting paid peanuts to work on a construction site, would you care? I mean, you're not really getting paid enough to care, right? I'm not saying it's any excuse, but I think there's sort of a bit of a conundrum there. If you start paying people more so that maybe they'll care more, so the quality of work increases, so the infrastructure in Taiwan doesn't just fall over, you end up driving up the cost of living, which is one of the biggest reasons why people like to move here and live here. It's cheap. Food is cheap. Transportation, relatively cheap. But it only is that way because wages here in Taiwan are insanely low. So Taiwan has a choice. Keep wages low, keep things cheap but unsafe, or raise wages, make things expensive but safer. I don't know where the answer lies here. I'm not Taiwanese, I can't answer this question. I just thought, I've been seeing a lot of news articles and things that have been happening lately that I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to make a video. I had loads of people messaging me after a crane fell through the MRT line because a Canadian dude was injured and a lot of people thought it might be me. It wasn't me, I'm fine. I wasn't on the MRT line, but I just thought a lot of people think that that is just ridiculous that can happen, and I thought maybe I would try and make a video explaining why. I'm not trying to put Taiwan down. I still love living in Taiwan. I'm not looking down on Taiwan. I'm not pointing fingers or anything like that. I'm just trying to do my best to make an explanation after all of the knowledge of this country over the last 5 years. My light just turned off. That's a chabudo mentality right there. Didn't charge it. But anyways, yeah, that's my video.